it's Nick here with Nick's hard rock CD album review. Hope everyone's doing okay. The band we're going to look at, the album we're going to look at today is Rat. Now this is their second album, and it's called Invasion of Your Privacy. It was released in 1985. I'll just read out the tracks and I'll introduce the band. You're in Love, Never Use Love, Lay It Down, Give It All, Closer to My Heart, Between the Eyes, What You Give Is What You Get, You Got Me on the Line, You Should Know By Now, and Dangerous But Worth the Risk. Now we'll just introduce the band while we've got them here. On the guitar there we got Robin Crosby. Lead vocals there, Stephen Pearcy. On the guitar there as well, Warren DeMartini. On the bass is Joanne Croucher. And on the drums there is Bobby Blotzer. Yeah, so now this was obviously their second album, and it was their follow-up to their massively successful debut album, Out of the Cellar. But I'll review this at a later stage. But yeah, so their first album was hugely successful, and of course, this being their second album, there was obviously a lot of pressure put on the guys to follow up such a massively successful debut album. Now, it was successful, this album. It was. But, well, for me personally, it didn't really have the catchiness of their first album. Now, this is really a catchy album. The songs were just really catchy. Now, there are a few catchy songs on this album, but it wasn't quite the same as this one. Now, I remember I read quite a while ago that, in regards to this second album, there's pressure on the band, obviously. The record label would have been putting pressure on these guys to come up with a massively successful second album, and their manager and all that would have had pressure on them. So, yeah, and of course they did a massive tour for this album. So all that combined, would have created a lot of expectations for these guys. Look, it's still a great album, don't get me wrong, but yeah, for me personally, just didn't have that absolute catchiness as the first album. But anyway, they released 3 singles, Lay It Down, and actually this woman here, this model, she's actually in the video clip for the song Lay It Down and one of the singles. Also, the other single was You're in Love, and What You Give Is What You Get. Now, in regards to, as I just mentioned before, in regards to success, look, this album went number 7 on the Billboard 200 chart in the USA, so that's really good. There's no doubting that. It went number 36 on the Canadian charts, and it went number 50 on the UK charts. So, and it sold. It went 2 times platinum in the USA. So that's 2 million plus albums sold in the USA. So yeah, it still did well, but it didn't do quite as well as their first album. But that's all right, because look, in regards to this album, there's nothing really different about the songs compared to their first album. That's the thing I noticed about Rat, the band Rat. They've always got that very same unique, same music sound, same music sound, and this doesn't really differ much from their first album. As I said, just doesn't have the catchiness as their first album, but yeah, it's still the same song structures and same songs setups. Your hard rock, glam, nothing more really. But as I said, this was released in '85, so it was released the same year as Motley Crue's third album. And if I can, I might have it. Yeah, here we go. So Motley Crue's third album, Theatre of Pain, was released in '85 as well. And these two guys, these two bands were very good friends with each other. They were very good friends with each other, Motley Crue and Rat. So, and as I mentioned in the past, and I'll mention again, Motley Crue were just getting bigger and bigger as they went along. But there was actually, I remember reading, there was actually a point at one stage where Rat was, especially on Rat's first album, that they were actually outselling, they're doing better than Motley Crue. So, it just shows you how big Rat, really was. But it's sort of, the way I see it is it sort of slipped out of their grips in a way. I mean, they had that massive success, but it slipped away from them. I mean, they still had multi-platinum albums. The 3 albums went multi-platinum. I mean, there's no denying that. But I think that they could have had far more success. And I don't know. Look, I have read that there was a clash of egos within the band, especially Stephen Pearcy, the lead singer. Clash of egos, so it's unfortunate when that happens with bands, but that's what happens when you got different personalities, and and some people might be on the same wavelength, and others may not be, and some want to go in one musical direction, and someone else wants to go in another musical direction. It always happens with any kind of band, So that's life, I suppose, within the music industry and within a rock band. But look, still a solid album by Rat, and I've always loved Rat. And look, my 2 favourite songs would have to be "You're in Love" and "What You Give Is What You Get." In regards to describing these songs, they're nothing spectacular musically, but they're good. They've got a good vibe to them. That's all I can say. But it's a bit. The more I think about it, that they could have had so much more. These guys, and they did start off early. They started off pretty much. This was released in '85. So they start off about a year or two later than Motley Crue. So they could have really built themselves up and up and up, to become, the next Motley Crue or the next Poison. But they just sort of missed the mark. And anyway, these things happen. But look, a great album, and look, I would actually give this album. I'll give it a 7.5 out of 10. I must admit, the first time I heard it, I thought, oh gee, this is, because I suppose I was comparing it to the first album. But as I said, with some albums, they very, very slowly start to grow on me. Sometimes it takes a while though. But this is one of those albums where each listen, every single listen, it just tiny little bit grows on you a bit more. But 7.5 out of 10 for Rat's second album, Invasion of Your Privacy. And so until then, I'll surprise you guys next with what album I'm going to review. So until then, stay safe everyone, and look after yourselves and look after one another, and I will see you next time. Thank you again. Bye.